Welcome to Laricy Live. You want to know what's happening in the real estate market? Then this show is for you. I'm your host, Matt Laricy. Today, we want to talk about how buyers can win in the summer market. There's been a big spring rush of what's been happening in the market, and I've been telling people I think it's a little bit of fictitious of how crazy the spring market was. And spring, for where we sell, literally starts right after January 1, and I say it goes right to Memorial Day. So we've entered the summer market, and things are starting to change a little bit in the marketplace. So what we did is we put some feelers out there of what people are experiencing, asking some people some questions, what some people would want to hear about how they can win in the summer market, and we're just kind of read these off here. So first question is, how do you define the summer market? Well, the summer market starts right after Memorial Day and goes all the way through Labor Day. And right after Labor Day is when the fall market starts. So we're in the thick of the summer market right now. Is the summer market a good time to buy? I actually think the summer market's probably one of the best times to buy. Not where you're going to get the best deal, okay, because you probably hear me in the fall or early winter talk about that's when you get the best deal. But I think that summer market's the best time to buy because you have the perfect balance of great inventory and you have about half the demand of what you see in the spring market. So I do think the summer market's probably the best market to buy in because it's a perfect balance of not too much or not too much demand, but a great amount of A-tier quality inventory on the market. If the spring rush is over, how can a buyer win in the summer months? Easy. They have less competition. There's a lot of listings that we have on the market today that we would have sold with multiple bids if this was February or March. What is different this summer compared to previous summers in the marketplace? So, obviously, we're still in COVID. Chicago has officially reopened. We're not exactly at a normal summer that we would see in the past. I do think that one of the things that we are seeing that is different is that we're going to see more people travel this year than years in the past. And that has a lot to do with that people haven't been able to travel for the past 18 months or so. Is summer market a good time to purchase investment properties? Yes, but I would say that, it's definitely better to purchase investments now than it is during the spring market. But if you're an investor, I really would wait till like that August till middle of November. That's going to be your best time to buy an investment property because although you won't have tier A quality inventory, you may have more motivated sellers and you're definitely going to have less competition than you have today. Is it different buying in the summer from downtown Chicago compared to other neighbors compared to the Chicago burbs? Yeah. One thing I see a lot in the summer market is I do see a lot more international and out-of-state buyers, and that's in a normal market. We are seeing that kind of come back a little bit right now. But the suburb market's usually really strong from like May to like August because a lot of people have kids, and in a normal market they're tied to the school cycle. I mean, downtown is not as tied to the school cycle. I mean, if you're buying a luxury single-family home, it is tied to it, but you still see a slowdown even in those markets compared to the spring markets. How are you prepping sellers who are listing their property during the summer market? I tell them it's going to be different. I tell them straight up that we're seeing a lot less demand across the board compared to what we saw in the springtime, and that prices are probably going to come down a little bit. We're not talking that if your place is worth $400,000, it's now worth $350,000. It is if your place is worth $400,000, it may sell for $390,000 rather than multiple bids and selling for $405,000. So you do see a slight decrease in pricing because there's not as much demand, which sometimes can push the pricing up a little bit more. And some people overpaid for stuff in the spring. And you look at comps and something that was listed at $400 sold at $450, and it was really only worth $405. I mean, you can't use that as a comp and then expect to get $455 because one guy overpaid for it. And that's a big problem that I actually see in the summer market is that we get the summer rush, which is that inventory that comes on right after Memorial Day. The sellers use the last comp, which is like somebody who ghastly overpaid for something, and then they set their price above that, and then they sit, and they drop, and they end up selling it below market value in the fall. So the main thing I could tell sellers is make sure you price it correctly, and honestly, I would price it as close to market, if not slightly under market as I can, because it will sell for less if you have this still in the fall. How are you prepping sellers who've had the property in the market for months and months already? Sometimes the market's just not there for it. I mean, you look at the high-rise market and it's been softer, and, although the demand's dropping, the confidence is rising in those areas. So we just have to make sure that the sellers are positioned correctly, and make sure that they are priced appropriately and their place shows as well as it can. And at the end of the day, it's a numbers game at some points, is that you got to keep showing and keep grinding till it sells. Do you ever advise clients to pull the property off the market during the summer market? No, I wouldn't pull it off. I mean, best case scenario, I would pull it off after Labor Day. But again, it's all relative to what's happening to the property. Is your property not getting any showings? Have you not had showings for months? Are you overpriced? You have a unique place? I mean, there's too many intangibles to kind of give a general answer, but I can tell you that I would definitely keep my property on the market for the summer months. Is it acceptable to offer less than asking price in Chicago right now? Yes, I would. I mean, the summer market is not going to get as many over ask price offers as in the spring. In the spring, you're going to see a lot more at ask or above ask if it's priced right. Summer, you're going to see ask or slightly below. So that's just going to be expected. How often are you in contact with your buyers? At a minimum, we contact our buyers at least once a week, every Monday. We send out an update of what's happening in the marketplace. Essentially saying, like, here's what we saw, here's what we think is going to happen next week. We include these vlogs and podcasts in there, and we include the best articles we came across that week. So we give them that. We're sending them properties, multiple times a day. I'm sending them properties that I think fit their needs as they come up. And then I try to do another check-in on top of that. So we usually do at least 2 check-ins a week, minimum, and then, have the properties going in the background. Do your buyers prefer finding their own properties to look at, or do you do that? So, like, we always have people on searches. Some people want only me to send them properties, and some people, I send them properties and they don't care that I also hand select stuff. So everybody's different. I always ask people what they prefer, and, we could do whatever anybody wants. Everybody's different. Some people just love looking at stuff and then sending me for my advice. That is one thing that everybody does do, is all my clients send me the properties to hear what my opinion is on it, and then we cater if we're going to see it from there or not. Does putting more money down push your offer to the top of that list? Yeah, so if you're in a multiple bid situation and all things are equal and you have more money down compared to the next guy, yeah, you're going to win because you're a stronger offer. Sellers always want to reduce their risk. So, more money down means more likely for that to go under contract. Is submitting larger earnest money deposit necessarily good advice to give? Yes, you should. In the downtown Chicago markets, you should always put down 5% earnest money. That should be standard protocol. It's $1,000 up front, increase to 5%. If you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong. Always do a minimum of 5%. I can always tell it's a suburb agent if the total earnest money is $1,000. I always know I'm dealing with somebody that doesn't do that much business and that they're a suburb agent. And honestly, if we are in a multiple bid situation, I'm going to lean heavily against that offer. Is it worth submitting an offer without a loan approval letter? Absolutely not. That's the surest way that you're going to lose and that people are going to firsthand not take your offer seriously. If you don't have an approval letter up front, I mean, you're essentially saying that you want to buy this, but nobody knows if you can afford it, including yourself. So make sure you have your approval letter. Which Chicago neighborhoods are the hottest right now? The outskirts were, Lincoln Park, Lakeview, Wicker Buck, Westtown, those type of properties were the hottest. But now we're starting to see that attitude start to shift. I fully believe that in the next 3 to 6 months that River North and West Loop are going to be your hottest neighborhoods again. I think there's going to be this surge of people wanting to live in the city again. And how I know this is I've been talking about this for almost a year, and now you're starting to see people all over the place with their masks off, partying like rock stars, and you're starting to see the migration completely come back to these cities. Where are the best investment opportunities right now? River North, West Loop, Streeterville, Gold Coast. Prices are still down a little bit. They will come back. And if you want to buy and feel like you won, those are going to be your best markets to do it. What should you do if submitting an offer on a hot property and listing agent isn't actively responding to text calls or emails? Show up, call their managing broker, call people that know him, do whatever it takes to get a hold of that guy. I've had that happen before, and I literally just started calling people at their office and making sure that the offer was seen by the people. I'll be ruthless to make sure that offer and mine is seen at the forefront of other people's. And if it's not, I will go out of my way to destroy that person's reputation and do everything I can to make sure that they're not a licensed agent anymore. But there should be absolutely no reason that you shouldn't be able to get a hold of that listing agent. And if you're experiencing that and your agent's not going about that, you need to find yourself a different agent. What should you do differently when submitting offers during the summer market? Honestly, you should negotiate more. You can negotiate more during the summer months than you can during the spring months, because you're literally going to be dealing with about half the competition that you saw during the spring months. Our high-rise prices starting to go up. Not yet. They're not up yet. They will be. As of right now, they're not. But they're going to be going up soon. You're still probably a good 6 months away till you start seeing a price appreciation levels in the heart of the city. But the good news is I think that we were in the bottom. I've been talking a while that we're in recovery mode, and I think we're heading towards a hockey stick growth in those areas. I just got started my search, and I'm nervous because my friends got outbid so much, so often. What can I expect my experience to be like? It'll be completely different. I think you can expect that properties that came on the market on Monday and were sold by Tuesday is not going to be the norm. I think the norm will be a property will come on Monday, and by like Tuesday of next week, it might sell if it's super hot. But otherwise, you were going to expect to see higher market time, less multiple bids, and more inventory. And you should expect this experience to be much better than your friends had during the spring months. Which areas are getting the most showings? Still the outskirts. The big buildings are still sluggish. That will change, but for now, that's where it is. How will showings change during the summer months? I mean, we don't have to wear masks anymore. It's very rare we ever have to wear masks, and I think you're going to see a lot less likely people grouping showings together. Before, if you wanted to show a place at 5 o'clock on a Monday, you had a cocky agent on the other side that was pretty much saying, like, hey, first showings aren't until Saturday at 9, and you had to wait 5 or 6 days to see that place. And I think now you're going to start seeing listing agents bend over backwards to accommodate showings because they're nervous that the place is not going to sell. Is the summer market the best market to buy, or is it worth waiting? I don't see what you have to wait for, because right now you have a perfect balance of inventory and less demand. This is technically the best time to buy, especially with where rates are. Will the heart of the downtown market start to gain steam in the summer? Absolutely. I think the big thing to watch out for is the out-of-town and international marketplace. Because now that people could travel to Chicago again and people see that the city's alive, I think people are going to start feeling good about investing in the city, especially when it's at a discount. A good story is that I had a gentleman from China that bought an in-town unit because his wife was here. His daughter was going to school here. And him and his wife wanted a place here. And he came here 60 days ago. And he was really on edge about pulling out because when he came here, most of our city was still boarded up, and he didn't really see that many people out, and the people he did see out were wearing masks, and he was really nervous to buy in Chicago. He came back yesterday, and there was nothing boarded up. There was people walking around. Nobody had any masks on, and he literally pulled me inside and said that he felt he got a great deal on the property, and he couldn't believe how much he loved Chicago now, and he's thinking about buying another 2 or 3 units. And that's the difference, is people are going to start feeling good about the market again, and that's what's going to change the market. I've been talking about this for almost 18 months, that everybody who said that we would never live in big cities again and that we would never go back to work again, that mentality is going to change, and I said it's going to change quicker than you think. And we're, about 4 to 5 days opened up here in Chicago. Depending on when you watch this, you'll see. But I will tell you that I would almost act as if Chicago is back to where it was before COVID was even a thing. And if it's happening this quickly, imagine we're going to be 2 or 3 months from now. So yeah, the market is going to be completely back. It's going to be completely gaining steam, and it's going to be crazy. How can I use the summer market to my advantage? Use the inventory to your advantage. Use the inventory and less demand to your advantage to try to get a better price. If you do that, you'll pay less than the last comp. And you know what? You could use the advantage of that you don't want to be on the market in the fall. And if it's a property that's been sitting for 30 to 60 days, you'll be able to get a decent price on it. Are you noticing more inventory sitting for longer? And if so, how do I take advantage of that? Same thing I just said. Make sure that you use that inventory, days on the market, in your favor to try to get a better deal. Is longer market time better for buyers? Sure. The longer market sits, the more attractive it's going to be. But I mean, You also have to look at why is it sitting, right? Like, is it dated? Is it in the heart of the city, which naturally has had high market time? You have to think about why is it sitting. Not properties were never designed to sell in a day. The average market time in Chicago, for the most part, has been about 90 to 95 days. That's historically what Chicago is. So the fact that things are selling in 1 or 2 weeks, and now people are saying, hey, that place has been on the market for 30 days. What's wrong with it? That's not normal. Like 30 days is completely normal to be in the market. 90 days is completely normal. Now 350 days, and you're in like Lincoln Park, you may have to see, is it a unique property? Does it not have washer dryer? But you have to look at the certain situation of why there's higher market time. If something hits the market and is less likely to get multiple bids, what's my best strategy to get a good offer? I think you mean a good price, but the best strategy would be the wait. If you don't care if it sells or not and you want a better price, I'll tell you right now, the seller's going to be a lot less likely to negotiate day 2 on the market than they are on day 21. So, have patience and wait, and that's the only strategy you could take to try to get a better price. Do you and your team wear suits and ties all summer, even though it gets hot? Absolutely. No matter what the weather is, all the gentlemen in the office have to wear suits and ties. Do I think summer months will favor the sellers or buyers? I don't think it's going to favor either. I think we're going to head more towards a balanced market. We've been in a hardcore sellers market for half the market, and I think we're going to get into balance in those areas. And I think in the heart of the city, which has been a hardcore buyers market, I think it's going to start to slowly transition towards a balanced market. I do not believe we'll be in a full balance at all this year in those areas, but I think we're going to get closer to a balanced market. Are investors taking advantage of high-rise pricing right now? No. Honestly, most investors are too scared to buy downtown right now. They don't believe in it yet. It's going to be like buying Tesla in March of 2020. You're going to wish you would have done it when it hit the bottom. We've already bottomed out. Every month that you wait on buying in a high-rise, the deals are going to get worse. So, and they're going to favor the buyers more. Or, I'm sorry, going to favor the sellers more. So, most investors don't buy until it's too late, and they want to say, well, why did they get such a good price in October and now I have to pay X? And I say the same thing. I'm like, you didn't have the balls to buy in October. You can't get a great deal now that the market's back. You can only get a great deal when everybody else is scared. And if you're too scared to pull the trigger, you can't then think that you're going to reap the benefits of the people who decided to take advantage of the fear that was in the marketplace. Is COVID still having an impact on the Chicago real estate market right now? Yes, it's having an impact on the high-rise sectors and the heart of the city. But that's slowly starting to fade. And it's not as much as COVID as it is the civil unrest that happened in the city, because some people are still nervous about, potential riots and stuff like that. But as the city completely reopens, that fear is going to kind of go away as well. If you've lost multiple offers with the client and they're starting to lose trust in you, what should you do? You should win. That's what you should do. And you should coach them to not lose. Honestly, it's not. I could see why you lose 1 or 2 multiple bids in the markets I work. I understand the suburbs are different, but, it's pretty hard to lose more than 1 or 2. Every now and then somebody just goes absolutely crazy with their price, but there's other intangibles you could do to try to win that. And we did do a whole podcast about how to win in a multiple bid, so I suggest to kind of watch that one. If your clients are willing to overpay a lot to win a deal, but you don't think it's a good idea, do you let them overpay? Sure. If somebody wants to overpay for something, it's not my problem, right? I tell them that, though. I always tell people, like, listen, it's worth X. If you're willing to go here, here's how much you're overpaying for the place. Are you overpaying by $15,000? If you didn't get this and you lost it, do you care? How much does $15,000 mean to you? I just tell people what it is, and then they can make a decision with their money. It's not my money. I tell them what it is, and then if they are overpaying for it, I always recap in an email, like, hey, as we discussed, I thought the place was worth $500. You wanted to go to $515, and you didn't care that you were overpaying by $15,000. It is what it is, and we're going to win out on the place. This way, if they try to use me when they sell, and they say, hey, you are the one that made me do it, I say, hey, here's the email that we talked about where I said that you wanted to overpay for it, and I told you that you were overpaying for it, and at the time, you told me $15,000 was meaningless to you. And now 4 years later, you're telling me $15,000 means everything in the world to you. So at the end of the day, you just lay it out, and you do a math equation. Here's the math. Here's what it is. How much does this mean to you? Is that something you're willing to do? If so, go ahead. It's, I think too many people say, like, I have to be the best and I have to show everybody my value and it's me. And it's like, this has nothing to do about me and my decisions. It's your money. You decide to do with it. And if, you love the place that much that this doesn't matter to you, then do it. I've overpaid for properties myself before. I don't care. I wanted to live there. Are buyers overpaying in the city right now? No, not in our markets. I mean, there's that, 2 to 550 game in Lincoln Park and Lakeview. I think maybe some people did, but overall, most things in the city have not been inflated like the suburbs. Are you seeing a change in how developers are designing layouts or outdoor spaces since COVID? No, not in our markets either. And I'll tell you right now, any property that was designed to be COVID related is going to be really biting themselves in the asses, because this whole WFH thing is done, and you're going to see a bunch of people going back to the office. And I don't think anybody's ever going to work from home again. And I realize that you're all going to say that I'm an idiot, but we're going to keep this clip for 2 years from now and see how many people on average are still working from home. Because you can't talk about where the future is going to go until the future's here. So don't tell me something's never going to happen again if we don't have any scientific proof. One thing I can tell you is that historically speaking, since people decided to have jobs, most people have gone in some sort of office, field, or whatever setting there's been. And I don't believe, because of the last 14 to 18 months, that humanity is going to change our natures for good. And the reason I could tell you that is, again, we're less than a week in a reopening, and people are acting as if COVID never existed. The people who are the most scared are in packed bars with 400 people standing on top of each other, hugging, kissing, and doing whatever, carelessly. So now they tell me that they're going to sit in a cave in a, box in their house instead of going back to work when they see all their friends at work. I'm just not going to believe. So for a developer to change how properties are developed, I think would be a horrible move. Have you seen more international traffic start to increase? Absolutely. We're getting a lot more calls from people out of state and international. Where are most of your buyers looking to purchase in Chicago? Honestly, most of them are looking in still the outskirts, but I do think that's going to shift in the next 2 to 4 weeks. What are the most important things summer buyers are looking for? Honestly, most of them are looking for places that they could get a decent deal on. They're not like complete deal seekers, but I am starting to see buyers become nitpickers again. In the spring, buyers are willing to literally give up everything on inspections, on contingencies, whatever, to make sure they get it. In the summer, buyers start to get a little bit more picky on certain things. And in the fall, buyers want everything. So we're in that transitional phase of going from a hardcore seller's market to a balanced market, and you're seeing buyers have a little bit more balls on what they're asking for. And that's what I could say that I see mostly happen with summer buyers. When can buyers expect after the summer what can buyers expect after the summer market? I think we can expect a lot less inventory and a lot less demand. The fall market, I think we're going to have almost a completely normal fall market, with the exception of us having a lot more international out of state, because I think there's a lot of rich people out there that don't know what to do with their money, and with inflation on the rise, and we're going to be heading into the inflation years, I believe, people are going to want to have hard assets that protect their money against inflation. Are you seeing more multiple bids in Chicago during the summertime? No, we're seeing less. And as we discussed, when summer's over, they're going to talk about how multiple bids are down. What do you need to do to get a deal done and move in prior to the school year starting? Find something. Depending on when your school year starts, it's probably end of August, beginning of September. It means that you have to be in a contract at the latest end of July. So make sure you find something by then. Otherwise, it's pretty easy. There's enough inventory out there to choose from. Where are most of your sellers moving to? A lot of them were moving to the burbs. I've had a lot of sellers pull their properties off the market recently because they're going to stay put. People who wanted to move to the burbs, they've gotten discouraged because of how hot the market is out there. And now the city's reopened, and they started looking around. And they're like, you know what? I got called back into work. I didn't think I was going back to work, so we were moving the burbs. And now we are moving back to work. And there's no point for me to be in the suburbs anymore, and I hate traffic. Traffic is back. Traffic is starting to get crazy. We're having a lot of people be late again because of traffic. They're like, wow, the traffic. And this is people not even back to work. Wait till people are completely back to work and you see what the traffic's like. What are your favorite parts of the summer market? To me, my favorite part is that I don't have to hear people tell me how busy they are. I don't have to hear about how everything sells in, 4 hours. And we start to head more towards a balanced market. And I personally prefer more of a balanced market, because this way I don't have one party that's consistently complaining about X. It's better to be in a balanced market. It's better for everybody. And that's why my favorite market is the summer market. Although we don't sell as much in the summer, it's just less stressful in the sense that we're not constantly having somebody lose out over and over and over again. So those are all the questions on how to win in the summer market. If you ever have any other questions, feel free to shoot them over to us. Comment on our page. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell so that you're kind of the first in the know of when we release these. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live. Make sure to tune into our next episode and subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live.